Hey everyone, Anthony and John here, and today we have something very special for you.
That's right. Today we have an exclusive interview with Nicole Tompkins, the voice of Jill Valentine in the new reimagining of Resident Evil 3.
It was such a pleasure to talk to Nicole.
It really was. She's such a doll.
We hope you enjoy this podcast as much as we enjoy getting the chance to talk with Nicole.
For our YouTube viewers, don't forget to smash that like button and consider subscribing for more Let's Talk Resident Evil.
Hey, it's Nicole Tompkins, Jill Valentine in Resident Evil 3, and you're listening to Let's Talk Resident Evil podcast. Hey, it's Nicole Tompkins. I'm Jill Valentine in the new Resident Evil 3 remake.
So let's get right into it, Nicole. How did you get started in acting?
Yeah, I started at a very early age because I was pretty passionate about performance and storytelling and just how people interact. So I first started in musical theater, like a lot of kids. And so I did a lot of theater. And then at a certain point, I realized that I wanted to do this professionally, and I kind of transitioned into film and TV. And when I got out to Los Angeles, I was able to discover the wonderful world of video game, motion capture, acting, and voiceovers by a pretty wonderful chance of meeting some great people that saw that I had a passion for it and the love of learning it.
That's awesome. Musical theater seems to be where a lot of people start. I had the privilege of interviewing Hope Levy, who is the voice of not only the mom in Boss Baby, the current show going on Netflix, but also the voice of Rebecca Chambers in Resident Evil 1 Remake. And she too started in musical theater at a young age.
Super fun. Yeah, I think you'll find a lot of people that gravitate to voiceover and video game world. Many of them were theater nerds, because also we're all pretty big nerds here if you love video games. But you'll find a lot of theater nerds as well, because there's something that I think translates really well from stage performance and just vocal vitality that comes from working in musical theater or theater to some of the technical challenges that are required when you're doing voiceover acting or working on a motion capture stage.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what other interests do you have other than acting?
Yeah, well, I'm a huge shutterbug. I love photography and taking pictures. I'm passionate about light and portraits of people, so you'll see me often with a camera wherever I go. And I love posting on social media with the different images that I take, as well as just sort of documenting what I find beautiful around me.
That's really interesting. It seems like a lot of voiceover work, actors and actresses, they all have very similar hobbies, which is cool to see that it's almost like one big net community. Because Roger Craig Smith, who is the voice of Chris Redfield in a lot of the different games, he is huge into photography, and his Twitter is almost all photography right now.
I love that. Well, I mean, you have to think like we're all artists, right? These are people that are drawn to storytelling through so many different facets of experience, and you do that in film and TV and photography and theater. So we're probably just attracted to that as people because we love life and capturing dynamics of narrative in the world around us.
Yeah, and always trying to create like an outlet, you know, to put stuff out or post pictures or whatever.
Totally expressing ourselves. It makes us pretty fun on social media. I love like interacting with people and nerding out over things, whether that be Jill Valentine now or whatever game they're playing or cool photo or experience or place they've been. So I find that super rewarding, just a way to connect with people digitally.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting because I wonder if that plays into how much chemistry voiceover workers have with each other in a project because they share so many similar interests. I wonder if that has anything to do with why like the performance in Resident Evil 3 and Resident Evil 2 and other video games is so believable and it feels so real.
Right, exactly.
That's really interesting. I've never thought of that way, because I think, I mean, actors absolutely have a lot of shared experiences just because we're pursuing the same world and are going to have a lot of the same passions. But I feel like every person that I work with is still super different, because we're all individuals and very, very clearly people that like to express themselves in different ways as we take on roles that differ from who we are or are close to home. And yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but I guess you're right for sure. We know how to talk to each other, but it's also our job, right? Like, you know how to talk to your coworkers, you know how to communicate and figure out ways to bring chemistry and excitement and aliveness to the work that you're doing, because we have something to follow. We know what we're there to do together. And I think anytime you have a clear vision, teams can really form and create something beautiful.
So I had, as previously mentioned, the honor of interviewing Hope Levy, but I also had the honor of interviewing Heidi Anderson Swan, who was the voice of Jill Valentine in the original Resident Evil remake. And something that both of them told me about how voices were done in the past is that you were in a small room and you never really got to meet your fellow castmates. Do you think that plays a role in how believable your acting can be, that you got to work directly with your castmates in motion capture and stuff like that?
I think I would be incorrect if I didn't say it absolutely is a beneficial opportunity. If you're getting to work alongside someone else, there's just an energy that's created, because we also were doing all of the physicality, right? Talk about the difference between being on a performance capture stage and being in a booth. It's honestly two different skill sets. It's a very different environment. And for video games now, we do a lot of both. So you have to get to transition between the two of like working directly with the people that you're with, and creating awesome scenes together live with all of the action and the excitement and the full scene, and then going to a booth and just throwing lines that may or may not have a context, and you're constantly trying to go, okay, what's the context here, what's the response is going to be. So we do both now, and absolutely in the past it was super different, and also the expectations for what performance in games should be is changing. We're changing as we evolve in what we appreciate out of video games. There's so much more deeper narratives coming to life. There's a greater expectation for like cinematic qualities and naturalism that from a performance side I super love and appreciate and I'm excited about. But the fun thing about video game industry in general is there's kind of a place for everything, because we also still love like the nostalgic sound and the kind of offbeat performances that went along with some of our favorite games as we go. So it really just depends on the game that you're making and what the expectation is with that, because these past performers and iterations of Jill had a super specific thing that they were doing and bringing to life at that time, and I had the fun of getting to look back at some of those and respect what they had done with this character and what fans expect, and pay tribute in some ways to who Jill was, and then also really get to work with an amazing team at Capcom and so many fantastic creatives to figure out what Jill was going to look like in 2020 and what we wanted out of this version of the story.
That's awesome. Going back to the audition process, how was that audition process like for Resident Evil 3, and how did you get the opportunity?
Well, it was a very exciting experience. It was a pretty rigorous audition process, because I think they were very, excited and determined to find the performer that was going to be Jill for all of the performance and facial and voice in this iteration. So I was lucky to really hit it off with the creative team pretty early on. Our amazing cinematics director, Steve Knebly, and I had a shared vision for, I think, what Jill was going to look like that aligned well with the Capcom's perspective, and it all just kind of came together as a perfect formula. And when something like that happens, I mean, you can't do anything but just be giddy and focused and make it come to life. So the audition process was a blast, and of course it was an absolute joy to get the call that they indeed wanted me to be the new Jill.
That's awesome. So speaking of Resident Evil 3 and the experience of getting the role, and then going through all of the motions and capturing, the motion capture and providing the voice of the iconic character, Jill Valentine, what has been your favorite part of the whole process?
Oh my gosh, it's painful. Don't make me choose.
You can gladly choose a couple if you'd like.
Okay, I will gladly choose a couple because I think it's so hard to narrow down. Getting to play an iconic character in itself is incredibly rewarding because you know that there are going to be people that are really excited and have opinions and want to nerd out with you when it all comes out. So just like now, the feeling of getting to communicate with people and hear how much Jill means to them is just so rewarding. And then the actual experience, my goodness, like I couldn't ask for a better dream come true. I got to go to Japan and work, which is just an amazing country. And I love the culture and the people there, and the sushi. And I got to work with such cool talents. Jeff Shine, who plays Carlos, just is a piece of my heart. Neil Newbon, who played Nikolai and Nemesis and all of my enemies forever. We wouldn't have it any other way, is such a dear friend now. Our amazing director. And then just so many teams and creatives that come together to make the final product. I think many people know, but some people don't realize how many people and departments are involved in creating the final product that looks so amazing and badass and action-packed on screen that we get to enjoy as the player.
As far as like the when you were doing a lot of the motion capture, when did that take place, if you don't mind me asking, as far as like a time, like when were you guys like really working on the bulk of that?
Yeah, I mean, the game itself has so many components and people, so they've been working on it for years. We did a lot of our performance in 2018 and some work in 2019, so it is a several-year process, and we get to, come back throughout the years as soon as we've been cast, depending on what is being worked on in the game.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it seems to just go over periods of time of just working, and different years go by, and then everything's kind of different moving parts and stuff like that.
Exactly. It all just kind of comes together. My goodness, the magic of how a company like Capcom gets the final product delivered to people blows my mind, because it's just such a complicated chain of so many amazing departments putting their all into it and creating something that we finally get to enjoy. So that has a very unique timeline, and I must admit I don't even know how they do it.
Now, you mentioned before that going into this role you were aware of Jill Valentine. Now, did you play any of the games before getting the role?
I had seen many parts of the game. I knew the different games, and I knew of the franchise. I think it's hard not to. Even non-gamers kind of know of Resident Evil because of the fans and just the culture around this. Exactly, it really is. And I even, I knew who Jill Valentine was, because I just knew that she was kind of in some ways one of the most iconic female video game characters of all time.
Right.
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
She was one of the first, and like her and Lara Croft were like, they're cemented in history as something that I think we didn't have a lot of prior to them coming around in the 90s.
Right. Yeah,
totally.
I agree.
And there's something just so satisfying and exciting about getting to be part of that legacy in itself, because it's such a cool narrative, because they're went on to inspire so many different changes and new places for women in the game industry, and what we get to experience as players, right? It just becomes more diverse and more true to life.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we've mentioned a whole bunch already, she is such an iconic character. Were you ever nervous about how the fans would react to your performance?
It definitely crossed my mind, but I was lucky to be pretty protected and I think sheltered from thinking about it too much, which I think is important anytime you're in any sort of series or franchise that already has a fan base that has amazing expectations for what that thing is going to be. You'll talk to lots of creatives and artists, and they'll probably echo the same thing, that once you get into the work and once you're working on it with your team, like all of that sort of fades away because you're focused on, just exactly what's in front of you, which is a professional, badass, amazing woman in a really tough situation who gets hurt and is on a timeline and is passionate and has a mission, and my God, gets chased and chased and chased by a pretty intense dude.
So, did you use anyone or anything as inspiration for your portrayal as Jill Valentine?
I would be remiss if I didn't say that I'm sure performances in the past from all different walks of life have influenced my kind of version and understanding of who she was going to be. But when I was really kind of digging into the material with the team, it was more just coming to her place of strength and vulnerability, and kind of marrying that bravery based on everything that she was reacting to. So it was a pretty, personal in-person experience, because when you get there and you're working on it, like it's just about what's right in front of you. And I think that's also reflected in the game. Like, think about it as a context. When you're playing a Resident Evil game, like, yes, there's this entire backstory and there's this bigger picture of what the Resident Evil universe is, but it demands you to be so present because you're surviving. It is a survival horror classic, right? You have to just be exactly where you are.
Yeah, and to your point, Capcom with Resident Evil, they invented that term survival horror. So for them to be the ones to really capture and bring that forward as the player experience speaks volumes.
Right. Especially
Isn't that
this
so
experience.
freaking cool?
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. And I think I speak for both of us when I say your rendition of Jill Valentine is spot on.
Yes.
And the performance of everybody in this game was spot on, in my personal opinion. Same thing with Remake.
Thank you so much.
Same thing with Resident Evil Remake 2. Capcom really has something good going for them, and I really do hope to see you return if they ever go back and redo Resident Evil 1, which I think they should.
Right, yeah, they definitely should.
Yeah.
Awesome. That of course means the world to me, because it's so exciting to have people like the final product and this iteration of Jill, because it means a lot to me and it means a ton to everyone involved in making the game.
Yeah, because for me, like, Jill Valentine's my favorite video game character of all time, and Resident Evil 3, the original, was my favorite game of all time. So going into this, I had so much expectations, and they were blown away. They really were.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you had a blast, man.
Yeah, it was great. Just because we've never seen these, obviously with the technical limitations with the older Resident Evil 3, they couldn't really tell the story in certain cutscenes and stuff like that. Now everything's just like seamless, and it really came together very well.
Totally. It's an evolution. We finally get to live in the game with more naturalism in cinema, and it forces you to be more present and more immersed. And you know what's so cool? Imagine when you first played it, you were still just as immersed for a different reason. It was a different time with a different expectation and a different awesomeness to the quality of the game. And now you get to enjoy it in 2020 in this new immersive way.
Now, have you gotten the chance to play or see the final product of Resident Evil 3 yet?
All right, so I'm taking my time. Yes, I got my copy the same day as everyone else. I had it pre-ordered. I was stoked. It came packaged. It was there. We also had it downloaded, so very exciting. And admittedly, it's freaking scary, and so I'm taking my time because I have a hard time being like, I don't want to leave this safe room. Like, nah, man, nah, you can't make me. I could just hang out in here. Look at this. I've got a crate full of stuff. I got some herbs, dude. We'll just chill. Like, what's the rush? So I've really enjoyed watching a ton of people play it as well online, watching the gamers that can do it on hardcore. I'm there trying to do it on the easiest version and still being ow, no, God, let go, listening to myself scream over and over again as I get captured and taken down. I'm like, geez, Nicole, really making yourself do a workout, huh?
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up question. One of the most interesting things that we heard from Nick Apostolidis, who did Leon in the previous game, was that when he actually plays the game, he prefers to play as Claire Redfield because he hates hearing himself in the game. He's one of those people. He did a fantastic and a phenomenal job. Leon is my favorite character, and I think he's the best Leon that we've ever had. I think he really brought the character to life. But he is so critical on his own voice that I thought it was very interesting. Do you get any of that kind of feeling when you're playing as Jill and you're actually hearing your own performance?
No. Amazing. I mean, yeah, you can't help it. Like, I think I temper that and just like to enjoy it by just making fun of myself the whole time. So I play and I just respond to myself as myself, and I'm like, oh yeah, really, you feel that way? Oh, great. Well, thanks for letting us know. Yeah. So I'm definitely vocal when it comes to talking back to the monsters and myself as I play. Which I think tempers sitting there and like judging every line, because I think that'd be pretty miserable. So I try to just take it with a grain of salt. But, you know, I would be lying if I said, isn't it so much fun to play as Carlos? So much fun. Look at that yummy cookie of deliciousness.
Then you get to play as Jeff.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
Are you
great.
kidding? I get to control Jeff. It's my dream.
I actually think it's funny because we're the crazy people who did the 24-hour, which ended up being 27 hours. 'cause we
27
beat
hours, yeah.
The game on hardcore, Nightmare, and Inferno.
Back
mode.
to back.
Back to back. And it took us how many deaths on Inferno? A lot.
It was like 80 something
Yeah,
deaths.
it was like 80
Yeah.
deaths. The last boss killed us a lot. And your one line in the last boss, oh, you felt that, did you? How about some more? Was said so much in our stream.
Oh no, God. At that point, I would just be like, oh, really, Jill? That's so original. So original. Did you run out of thoughts? Are you tired? You're tired, I can tell. You're tuckered. Stop dying. And then, yeah, that's amazing. That's so funny. I love
great.
that. That's like a quirk of games, right? It's just like lines getting
right.
repeated. It's actually one of my favorites because it gives me such opportunity to be like, yeah? Yeah? You really? You feel that? Okay. Okay, good.
So I love narrative and I love story. Story is why I play games. So story is always the first thing that I look at when I'm like critiquing a game. And I love voice work. I've always been fascinated by it. I personally, actually my dream when I was younger was to either be a police officer or be a voice talent. And I haven't quite given up on either of them. So playing Leon would be my complete dream altogether because he's both a cop and a voice talent. But it looks like Nick got it, so that's not going to happen.
You never know in the future.
Well, you never know in the future, when they remake the remake.
Remake.
It really says something about a performance when it gives me goosebumps. And this game, Resident Evil 2 had a couple moments where I got goosebumps, but this game, only one line gave me goosebumps, and it's actually one of your lines. In the final fight against Nemesis, Jill goes, "Just so you know, this is the last fucking time."
Right.
In the entire game, it is the only line that gave me goosebumps because of how well it was delivered. And I just really want to give you kudos on that because it takes a lot to get me to do that. And it was a great moment.
Thank you.
It was fulfilling
Thanks.
too. It's like you're
Very fulfilling.
as you're just about to blow this thing up. You know, it's just it all came together.
Because however many times we died,
and
this time it was the last fucking time.
It was the last fucking time, right?
It was the one. You finally made it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's something like a magical about that final moment, and in some ways it's the same thing for me, right? Like when you're delivering that final moment, you feel the weight because you've done all of this amazing work on something that you love. So probably some of that is playing through as well. It's just being like, oh, this is the last time.
Right. Now, if you were asked to return as Jill Valentine for a future title, would you?
Oh yeah, absolutely not. Yes. Oh my God, are you kidding me? Of course. It has been such a dream, and my answer would be yes. Oh, let me think about it. Yeah, definitely. I would love that. You let me know when that happens.
how is the motion capture process? We got a little bit of the insider information from Nick when we interviewed him. What was your take on it? Like, how did you like it? Was it the first time you did it? And how overall do you think that contributes to the believability of your performance?
Yeah, I think performance capture and motion capture is like its own breed of performance in so many ways, because it's such an incredibly like technical environment, but really at the same time gives you so much freedom to get to do all of it, right? To fully act a character. I kind of joke it's like a marriage between theater and film, because you're there, you're doing full scenes, full performances with all of the actions as if though you were performing it live. But there's also considerations to where objects go, and specifically when you step, and how the player's going to perceive it from what angle. So there's camera and cinema involved as well. So it's such an exciting place to be. This was not my first time doing a performance capture. I've been very lucky to be on the mocap stage several times, many times, and hopefully many more times in the future. My first time on a performance stage was as Idril in Middle-earth: Shadow of War, which is the WB Games Lord of the Rings game.
Yeah.
And so that was my first time getting to jump on. And for that game, like, I got to jump right in with freaking motion capture pros. Troy Baker was our director and lead, and Travis Willingham and Laura Bailey were all there. So I was in very, very good hands and made amazing friends with people that really knew what they were doing first time out. So that definitely gave me a confidence and a path to be like, this is amazing, and I want to do this all the time.
Of all the lines that you recorded for Jill Valentine, which was your favorite?
She's got so many good ones. Which
so
one
many
was
good
your
ones.
favorite?
My favorite is definitely the final quote. I really like it. I just feel like I have to give my favorite line to the only one that gave me goosebumps. To be honest with you, on our YouTube channel here at Let's Talk Resident Evil, Carlos is a meme.
Yeah.
Like, Carlos has some great lines.
Yeah, we started it in one of the trailers when he said, "What's wrong with Umbrella?" We thought it was such a great line.
Yeah.
And it became just kind of like...
all of Carlos is just, what's wrong with Umbrella?
Yeah, or what's wrong with this?
A tall drink of water like yourself could put out a few
Yeah,
flames.
tall drink of water. Exactly. He's memeable.
Yeah, he's so memeable.
So good.
But standing out for you, I think you definitely did You Want Stars, I'll Give You Stars
That's
really well.
my favorite, because that was my favorite in the original, and I'm so happy that they brought it back. They didn't overlook that line, and you did it so
it made
so
it
well.
in.
Yeah,
Of course.
I'm so happy.
And it was fun because that line shows up in kind of just a surprising little cookie moment, and somewhat of a different context than the first time it was delivered. So it was like a really satisfying like fan moment when we got to that line in the booth and being like, ooh, this is the line. Like, where's it gonna go?
Yeah,
I'm glad that line wasn't missable, because in the original, if you chose to walk away, she didn't say it.
She didn't even say
I'm
it.
glad they
Yeah.
at least put it in the game this time.
Right.
Yeah.
I also really like the next time take the hint.
Yeah, yeah.
The final, like, before he is destroyed. It's really cool. You did really well. I think a lot of the little lines are my favorite, like what Jill says, or what you say, Nicole, what you say as you're like walking around the game.
In the situations, like
in the
during
situations,
it, right.
yeah, where
she
there
has
was
so much like wit and humor that really shows through in many ways, and I love that. Like, I love bringing levity and sarcasm to really intense situations. So that's also like one of my favorite parts of just like delivering. I know one of the ones I've been getting so many comments on Twitter about was that can't even swim.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bitch can't even swim.
Bitch can't even swim.
Exactly.
Yeah, because that was so
So,
sassy. Like, it was delivered so sassy.
Right.
And Jill Valentine is a pretty sassy girl.
Right, yeah.
She's pretty
like,
sassy, but she's underspoken in some ways. Like, she always says exactly what she means, but like it takes like a second look sometimes to be like, hold up, did she just sass him?
Yeah.
She did.
I like the one line I played through. It must have been my 9th playthrough, and she said something new that I never heard before in all of our playthroughs. If you shoot the hunter betas with acid, she goes, acid. Or she says, okay, acid, working. And it was just so
Yes.
like I shot them with acid before and she didn't say it.
Right.
So it's cool that
Just
there's
those little
still lines
things.
that even after 11 or 12 playthroughs, I still haven't even heard all of it yet.
Right.
Yeah, man, they pop in there. They really do. And there's so many. That's the thing. There's just tons. We did so many. So I wouldn't be surprised if you'll continue to find little Easter eggs of like ways that she reacts to what she's up to.
So other than Resident Evil 3, you did say you were in Shadows of War, which is awesome. What other projects have you been involved with in the gaming side of things? Or not gaming side?
Well, yeah, gaming side, I can talk all day about Middle-earth Shadow of War, and it was awesome. And then as far as other projects, I admittedly am unable to bring them up yet. But stay tuned. Feel free to follow me and keep in touch, because I'm excited to announce some other fun things that I've been working on. So as far as gaming world, we're hanging out with Jill and Idril for right now. Film side, I have a couple great films on streaming platforms. If you're into like quirky psycho thriller art house type of indie movie, there's a great film called Antrim, the deadliest film ever made, and I have a leading role in that movie, and absolutely adored making it. It's a very particular flavor, so some people super dig it. And the creatives behind that were so much fun. So that's kind of a scary, playful movie. And then I have a couple other feature films you can see on my IMDb. I pop up on Amazon and Netflix, and then I do animated movies. I have a bunch of children's films, which is really fun, and
That's
playful, and lots of strange characters. And yeah, man, I like to dip my toes all over the place. Film, theater, games, come hang out.
If you could shout out any other voice talent, who would it be, and why do you admire them?
Oh my gosh, I would use my whole interview just shouting out voice talent that I admire. I've already mentioned, obviously, the people that I worked with on RE3. I could not have asked for better coworkers. Jeff Shine, Neil Newbon, freaking William Hope. We had Todd Habercorn, who's a badass. Darren O'Hare, like the people that I worked with on this game were just a true pleasure. And then, as far as like people that I've inspired me in this industry, I have so many. I already mentioned like Troy and Travis and Laura all played such a really wonderful role in introducing me to this side of performance. And then I also had the real pleasure of working with Nancy Cartwright, who's the voice of Bart Simpson, for several years. And she was such a beautiful mentor and supporter in my growth as a person and as an artist. So major shout out to her, because she's also such a cool wizard in the VO world. And then gosh, there's just so many amazing voice actors out there. Ashley Birch is just tearing it up, and a woman I super respect. She's got a great new show, Mythic Quest, I've been enjoying at home as well. Tara Strong, just all these. I mean, name any of them. I could pick one reason I adore their performance or what they've contributed to video game voiceover world.
Now we have one last question for you as far as the regular interview goes. We have to ask the fan favorite question. What is your recipe for a Jill sandwich?
Oh no. Well, it depends on the day, because if you come on different days of the week, my Jill sandwich changes. Mondays you gotta get in there with a solid PB&J. We like the crunchy peanut butter and strawberry jam, and it's all about the proportions, my friend. Like you gotta make sure the proportions are right, because you have too much jam, too much peanut butter, it throws the whole thing off. I like that artesian wheat bread, super delicious. And then Tuesdays, I'll take you through every day of the week. You got the vegan chicken with the honey mustard and the dirty sauce and the lettuce, tomato, don't forget a grilled onion. You got to get up in there with all of the flavors,
I like it.
I like it too.
What do you think, John? A lot of the recipes,
first one I'll eat.
You like the PB&J?
The second one I've never had, so I don't know. I wouldn't do the mustard, but I could try.
We could try it.
I could try it.
Yeah, with that
I find that
chicken,
interesting because I'm pretty sure she has strawberry jelly in her fridge in the game if you open it.
Does she have strawberry?
I think so. I feel like I remember it. I've only seen it like 700 times, but I feel like I remember it. If not, we'll cut this part out.
Right.
She doesn't have jam in there.
Someone immediately goes and is like, "There's no jam."
exactly,
Sends you a
exactly.
gift. No jam.
Just raccoon
Look,
milk.
guys, I was out. Imagine that it was there. All right.
Yeah,
The
imagine.
apocalypse, they were out.
Right,
out of jam.
exactly.
And that brings us to the rapid fire round. All right, Nicole, we're going to ask you a series of rapid fire questions, and you just say the first thing that comes to mind and what your answer is, all right?
I'm ready. Let's go. Survival.
What is your favorite color?
Purple.
What is your favorite candy?
Oh no. Kit Kat, Reese's, or the Sour Patch Rainbow Strips.
Ooh, what is your favorite drink?
Tea, or water. I freaking love water, but I drink a lot of tea.
Who is your favorite fictional character?
Oh no. Oh gosh. Oh jeez. This is painful. God. This is where I'm dying. I'm not pressing the save me button fast enough.
Where's the first aid spray?
Yeah, right. First aid spray. Need help. Favorite fictional character. Can I pick someone from literature? Can I go with like freaking Winn-Dixie? And because of Winn-Dixie, because who doesn't love that dog?
There you go.
There you go.
Who is your favorite actor or actress?
Oh, also completely unfair. I have so many. Did you hear me before? I list like 500 million people. So credit to all the people that I've already mentioned because they're amazing. Film and TV, you can't deny Meryl Streep. You can't deny freaking Michelle Williams. I respect both of their careers a lot. Jessica Chastain's amazing. Oh gosh. Oh, I have so many actors. This is painful. You guys are literally shooting me. We're gonna go with them. We're gonna go with them for right now. But just know, like, my list is 20 people long.
What is your favorite animal?
My favorite animal? Probably a horse because I'm from Texas and horses are literally amazing creatures. But the next is a bunny because I have bunnies and I love them to death. And then also I just have like a major kitten obsession, which involves adult cats as well. But kittens are just especially like endearing right now in my world. Okay. Phew.
Yeah, well, everybody loves kittens. Well, that is all the questions that we have for you today, Nicole. How about you tell us a little bit about where we can find you?
You can find me as @Nicole Tompkins on all social media. I'd love to hang out. You've been listening to Let's Talk Resident Evil podcast. I'm Nicole Tompkins, the new Jill Valentine in the RE3 remake. Thanks so much for all of your amazing support, for coming to hang out and nerd out, and have a great rest of your day.